So, I've talked about a couple of different science fiction franchises in my videos, but it's actually really surprising to me that I have not yet talked about my absolute favorite sci-fi franchise. And that would be Wormhole X-Treme. Wormhole X-Treme first aired in the fall of 2001. The show stars Nick Marlowe as the wry Colonel Danning, Yolanda Reese as Major Stacey Monroe, Raymond Gunne as Dr. Levant, and Douglas Anders as Grell the Robot. Wormhole X-Treme's showrunner was actually the genius behind the hit 90s show Puchinsky about the crime-solving dog. That dog solved so many crimes. This show was about a team of 4 space explorers with the US Air Force who travel to a new planet every single week through this large round metal device that creates a stable wormhole. They call this device the Star Portal because it's a portal to the stars. Since this was before the age of streaming, Wormhole X-Treme aired primarily on cable. I think most people actually don't know this, but the original working title for Wormhole X-Treme was Going to Other Planets, based on the plot of the show. But at that time, having an X in show titles was extremely popular. The X-Files, X Factor started airing in the UK a couple years later. Xena, Warrior Princess, the X-Men. It was a marketing thing. My favorite episode is the one with the aliens who have the transparent skulls, and Colonel Danning is not a fan of these aliens. And they end up in a conflict with our heroes, but ultimately, Dr. Levant gives this beautiful monologue about how these aliens might be different from us, but they have the same rights. It's extremely poignant and it's just very moving.
Damn it, Colonel. Just because they're aliens and their skulls are transparent doesn't mean that they don't have rights.
Actually, I think that's the episode that is just mostly well known for that scene where Dr. Levant gets crushed by boulders, and it's very dramatic because you think that he has died, but it all works out okay in the end. There's another really good one where Dr. Stacey Monroe goes out of phase, and her character is great because she is both a military officer and a scientist.
Hurry up, Major, we need that force shield.
I'm trying, sir, but something's nullifying the electrolyte composite on the shield generator.
Try reversing the polarity.
It's not working.
So she's the one who can kind of figure out their way out of technological problems, but she also carries a weapon and she's a really good shot and she is a soldier. So her character is really unique, but sometimes I kind of think the writers didn't really know what to do with her. But anyway, that episode also has a really funny scene where there are these giant aliens and you, the audience, have no idea how Colonel Danning is going to get past them because it seems like the only way he could get around them would be to fly. And then he just shoots them. One thing I really appreciate is that Wormhole X-Treme actually had a real Air Force consultant on set to make sure that the show was accurate and just fully representative of the American military. Unfortunately, Wormhole X-Treme got canceled a lot. It ran for 1 episode, and then got canceled, and then it ran for 2 more episodes, and it got canceled again. I kind of wonder if there were some weird behind-the-scenes production issues with this show. For example, in 1 episode, they have just this really big, really good special effect. And it is completely different from what you see in the rest of the episodes. And part of me thinks that maybe that was some sort of requirement from the network and it just ended up costing their entire budget. Because in the other episodes, they don't even have the money to create the laser beam from their laser guns. I looked for some interviews or some commentary about that particular episode, but I couldn't really find anything. I don't know, it's kind of odd. But anyway, eventually they released the full first season on DVD, and it actually performed really well. There was a much higher volume of sales than they anticipated. And I think that it's because this show is just exceptionally funny. Get it? Get it? Exceptional. Yeah. Not only is this show just really funny, but they also use science fiction as an existential metaphor to tell stories about the human condition. A few years later, after the first season was released on DVD, the studio wanted to bring Wormhole X-Treme back for a made-for-TV movie. But there were some rumors that the talks weren't really going so well, and they might not be able to get all of the original cast. And then, in an 11th hour twist, instead of a made-for-TV movie, they renewed the series. And the original cast came back for the series. Well, mostly. They did eventually have to replace Nick Marlowe, but rather than recast Colonel Danning, they just brought in a new character to replace him. I actually liked the new guy, although he did curse a lot.
Sweet.
Raymond Gunne also left at one point to go do theater in New York, and at the time you thought it was permanent, but he had a few guest spots, and then, it ultimately only lasted a year before he came back to the show full time. Things got off to a rough start with Wormhole X-Treme, but ultimately the series ended up running for 10 years, and the show won 7 Saturn Awards. After the series wrapped, they did actually finally decide to go ahead with a made-for-TV movie to tie up some of the loose plot threads left over from the series. But there hasn't been any new Wormhole X-Treme content in a couple of years now. However, there is a rumor that there might be a continuation or sequel to the original series in the works with the studio. Maybe even an animated version. We don't know yet. Although, to be fair, there was a rumor a couple years ago that they were looking to completely reboot Wormhole X-Treme, and that never went anywhere, which I'm actually kind of glad about, because while I would have still watched a reboot, it wouldn't have been the same. So I really do like the idea of a sequel or a continuation. So while we might get a new team who travels through the star portal and goes on different adventures, we can still see what happened to the original characters. Tell me in the comments if you watched Wormhole X-Treme, and if you did, who was your favorite character, or what was your favorite episode? I'm actually kind of hoping that the comments just end up full of Colonel Danning's, best one-liners. For context, it is April Fool's Day.